It's not the economy. It's not your boss. It's not the government, your parents, your past, or your present pain. The major key to your better future is you. That's the truth most people run from. They spend years blaming, excusing, distracting, and explaining away their lack of progress. Because it's easier to believe life is unfair than it is to admit we've been casual with our own potential. But here's the hard, liberating truth. You are the variable. You are the missing piece. You are the one who can unlock the next level. Not when the world gives you a green light, but when you decide to stop living on autopilot. Because the life you're dreaming of, it's not waiting on a miracle. It's waiting on you. Not a new version of the world, a new version of you. Not a perfect opportunity, a powerful decision. Not some magical shift out there, but a relentless transformation in here. See, most people don't realize their life is a mirror. It reflects their values, their habits, their beliefs, their standards. And if you want to change the reflection, you don't beg the mirror. You change you. Because your better future isn't out there somewhere, it's already inside you. Waiting, untapped, undisciplined, unexpressed. It's in the book you haven't finished, the gym you haven't returned to, the call you keep delaying, the plan you keep rewriting but not executing, the habits you keep saying you'll start someday. But someday is a lie. It's the language of the lost. And as long as you speak it, your future stays locked in fantasy. Because here's what no one tells you when you're stuck. No one is coming to rescue you. No mentor, no course, no secret tip will do what discipline can do. No life hack will replace self-respect. No breakthrough will arrive without breaking your current behavior. You must rise. Not because the world needs you to, but because your future is screaming for it. Because you are not here to repeat yesterday. You are here to rewrite it with stronger hands and a clearer head. But nothing changes until you do. Your income will follow your growth. Your peace will follow your perspective. Your opportunities will follow your output. And your influence will follow your integrity. That's the system. It doesn't care how you feel. It responds to who you become. You can pray all day, manifest, visualize, hope, cry, but until you move with discipline, with focus, with commitment, nothing moves. Your life waits for the signal, and that signal is you. You waking up with purpose. You setting a new standard. You showing up even when it's hard. You doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. You no longer being casual with your time, your energy, your potential. Because casualness creates casualties. But responsibility builds power. When you finally say, it's on me, that's not weakness. That's not pressure. That's freedom. Because now you're not waiting on anyone to change the direction of your life. You're not sitting in the passenger seat anymore. You're driving. And yes, it's heavier, but it's better. Because at least now you're free. Free to rise. Free to rebuild. Free to break the cycle your parents couldn't. Free to become what your old self never believed you could. But that freedom demands something most aren't willing to give. Ownership. It demands that you stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. That you stop rewriting the past and start rewiring the present. Because your habits are the future in disguise. What you do daily is designing the next 5 years. Not what you dream of. Not what you talk about. What you do. Your decisions are votes. Votes for the kind of person you're becoming. Every time you skip the gym, vote cast. Every time you snooze the alarm, vote cast. Every time you tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, another vote for mediocrity. But every time you wake up with discipline, vote cast. Every time you learn instead of scroll, vote cast. Every time you act with purpose, another vote for greatness. And soon, the votes add up. Not in some dramatic overnight transformation, but in slow, steady, irreversible change. Until one day you wake up and realize The future you used to hope for is now your present reality, not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. And that's the whole point. The major key to your better future is not out there. It's not a map you haven't found. It's not a person you haven't met. It's not a chance you haven't gotten. It's you. You with better standards. You with ruthless consistency. You with a burning vision and unshakable execution. You with a mindset that refuses to wait for conditions to be perfect. You choosing progress over pity. You choosing responsibility over excuses. You choosing power over passivity. Because in this life, the world doesn't hand you freedom. It hands you options. And you build freedom when you learn to master yourself, your time, your thoughts, your patterns, your pain, your potential. That's the difference between the average life and the unstoppable one. Average people wait for change. Unstoppable people become it. Average people wish. Unstoppable people work. Average people seek validation. Unstoppable people seek alignment. And it all starts with this decision, the one you must make again and again and again. I am the key. Not them. Not it. Not later. Me. Now. Because the future doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the responsible. Because once you take full responsibility for where you are, you gain full permission to change where you're going. Responsibility is not a burden. It's a blessing. It means no more waiting, no more hoping, no more bargaining with fate or timing or chance. It means you now possess the most powerful truth in personal development. If it's going to be, it's up to me. You become the architect of your day, the engineer of your attitude, the guardian of your attention, and the sculptor of your destiny. Not because you're special, but because you're willing to live with discipline, not distraction. Willing to train your mind when it would be easier to numb it. Willing to say no to what feels good so you can say yes to what's great. That's the trade the world doesn't promote, but the winners all understand. Comfort or greatness. You don't get both. You can either be well rested now or respected later. You can either feel good now or feel proud later. You can either scroll endlessly now or you can study, build, train, and rise. Because the future is not a fantasy. It's a formula. Effort 10, time X, discipline equals destiny. And most people want the destiny without the discipline. They want the prize without the pain, the growth without the grind, the transformation without the 10,000 tiny thankless reps it takes to actually change. But you're not most people. You've already proven that by listening this far, by leaning in, by accepting the call to own it all. Because that's what this is. It's not hype. It's not temporary motivation. It's a call to mastery, to a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, a new way of living. And that begins with how you see yourself. You are not a victim. You are not helpless. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are building. You are taking control not of the world, but of the only thing that truly matters. You. Because the greatest power a person can possess is not influence over others, it's influence over themselves. The power to override your feelings. The power to rise when your mind says, stay down. The power to walk with purpose when everything around you feels like chaos. And that kind of power, that doesn't come from wishing. It comes from war. The daily war between who you've been and who you're becoming. The daily war between the old you that wants comfort and the future you that demands discipline. And every day, you decide who wins. You decide what your future becomes, not by what you want, but by what you're willing to do, what you're willing to let go of, what you're willing to fight through, what you're willing to stand for when no one else understands it. Because that's what separates those who talk about change from those who become it. It's not talent. It's not timing. It's not tools. It's resolve. It's the conviction to wake up and say, I refuse to live by default. I refuse to die with potential still in me. I refuse to leave this earth the same person I was yesterday. That's the mindset that builds legacies. Not because of luck, but because you took the major key to your better future yourself and you unlocked it, you sharpened it, you strengthened it. You unleashed it on the world, not with ego, but with excellence. Not with noise, but with proof. And when the world sees the proof, they'll ask what changed. You'll tell them the truth. Nothing changed until I did. Because the major key to your better future, it's been there all along. It's not in the clouds. It's not in the books. It's not in the stars. It's in the mirror. And the day you accept that is the day you stop waiting and start winning. Because winning doesn't begin when the world says go. It begins when you say, I'm ready. Not ready to feel perfect. Not ready because the plan is clear. Not ready because all the conditions are ideal. But ready because you finally trust yourself enough to start anyway. That's what separates the few from the many. The many wait for clarity. The few create it. The many seek motivation. The few build momentum. The many want guarantees. The few get to work. They understand something crucial, something most people never learn. Success is not a result. Success is an identity. It's not something you achieve, it's something you become. And how do you become it? By making the small, consistent, unglamorous choices that no one else will. The choice to wake up when it's cold. The choice to say no when temptation calls. The choice to finish strong, even when no one is watching. The choice to stay in the process when the progress feels invisible. Because in those moments, the silent ones, the future is being shaped. Not by some grand breakthrough, but by 1,000 small alignments between your actions and your values. That's how the new you is born. That's how the better future is built. You don't need fireworks. You need follow-through. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be intentional. And when your intentions become habits and your habits become identity, everything changes. Not because you suddenly have power, but because you became powerful. And power doesn't shout. Power walks in peace. It doesn't need to force anything because it knows who it is. That's where you're headed. A version of you that no longer needs to prove anything because they're living in proof. A version of you that no longer prays for shortcuts because they respect the process. A version of you that wakes up and walks into every room carrying the quiet authority of someone who owns their life. You don't need more luck. You need more alignment. You don't need to be discovered. You need to be dependable. Because talent might open the door, but character keeps you in the room, and character is built in the shadows. It's built when no one is cheering. When the lights are off, when you're tired, sore, unseen, but you still show up. Why? Because your future deserves it. Because your name matters. Because your legacy is being written not later, now. Right here. In the moments when it's easier to slip. In the moments when no one would blame you for quitting. In the moments when excuses sound reasonable and discipline feels insane. But you keep going. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. Not because it's painless, but because it's powerful. Not because you feel ready, but because you finally believe this truth. The major key to your better future has always been you. It was never them. It was never if only. It was never someday. It's you today, willing to pay the price, willing to rise again, willing to stop hiding behind potential and start living on purpose. So step forward, own it, embody it, and never forget. This is your life. This is your shot. This is your moment. The mirror has always held the answer. So look into it and become it. You can lose money and earn it back. You can waste money and still recover. You can invest money, misplace it, even burn it, and somehow it finds a way back to you. But time Once it's gone forever. Every second you spend, you never get again. Not one, not ever. And yet, most people guard their money with intensity while giving their time away like it's worthless. That's the lie society sold you, that money is the measure of wealth. But it's not. Time is, because money is infinite. But your time, that's the one currency you're born with a limited balance of. And every day you wake up, the clock starts ticking. Not just on your to-do list, not just on your career, but on your life. Tick. That's a choice you made. Tick. That's a moment you won't get again. Tick. That's an opportunity you either seized or lost. And most people don't realize they're going bankrupt, not financially, but existentially. They trade their hours for distractions. They sell their days to opinions. They rent their attention to anything and everything but their dreams. They spend time like it's free, not realizing they're paying with their purpose. And when the bill finally comes due at the end, when it's too late, they finally see it. The real price of wasted time. Regret. Not regret for the money they didn't make, but for the life they didn't live. The conversations they skipped. The chances they avoided. The risks they never took. The work they never finished. The dreams they buried under someday. But someday isn't real. Someday is the cemetery where dreams are laid to rest. And time is not generous. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't pause for your emotions. It doesn't wait for your confidence. It moves constantly, silently, and irreversibly. So if you want to win, not just in business, not just in career, but in life, you must value time above all else. Protect it like treasure. Respect it like a sacred gift. Guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. Start saying no to things that don't serve your mission. Start pruning your calendar like your life is a masterpiece in progress. Start treating every hour like a seed, because it is. Every hour you spend shapes your next chapter. Every block of time is a block of your legacy. And if you keep building with careless bricks, don't be surprised when the structure collapses. Time is the master sculptor. It carves the successful and the forgotten. It rewards the disciplined and punishes the drifting. It's the silent judge of all our decisions, and it never misses a detail. The question is not, how much time do I have? The question is, what am I doing with the time I've been given? Because one day, you'll wake up and there will be less future than past. Less room to waste. Less time to talk about changing. Only space left to act or to wish you had. You want to get rich? Respect time. You want peace? Manage time. You want impact? Own time. Not with apps, not with hacks, with focus, with intention, with the daily discipline of someone who knows that every minute is a mirror reflecting who you are becoming. Because time, like money, leaves a paper trail. But unlike money, the receipts are irreversible. They show up in the life you're living, in the energy you carry, in the depth of your relationships, in the health of your body, in the quality of your thoughts. So stop treating your time like it's disposable. It's not. It is your one true asset. You don't own a house, you rent it with time. You don't own a business. You pay for it in time. You don't own love, joy, wisdom, you earn them through the moments you dedicate to them. So stop pretending you're waiting for the right time. The right time is now. Now is all you'll ever have. Now is the only place power lives. Now is the only currency that counts. Not someday, not one day, not when you're ready. Now, so take it, own it, honor it, build with it, break through with it, and never forget, time is more valuable than money, because money can make you rich, but time, used wisely, can make you immortal. Because when you understand how precious time really is, you stop negotiating with it. You stop trading it for things that don't build you. You stop exchanging it for comfort, for validation, for numbing escapes that keep you standing still. You become ruthless not with people, but with your priorities. Because you finally see the truth. Your time is either a weapon or a wound. It's either carving your future or cutting it short. It's either being invested or it's being wasted. And wasted time is a slow form of self-betrayal. Because deep down, you know better. You know you were meant to build, to create, to learn, to impact, to rise. And every day you delay, every hour you drift, every moment you give away to the meaningless, you dig a little deeper into the grave of your own greatness. But not anymore. Not if you choose to wake up. To look time in the eyes and say, I see you now, and I won't waste you again. You reclaim your hours. You cancel the noise. You shut the doors that steal your focus and open the ones that lead to legacy. Because every legacy worth remembering was built with disciplined time. Every genius was made through hours of intentional effort. Not bursts of brilliance, blocks of consistency. Not viral moments, years of quiet mastery. So if you want a future that's different, start by measuring time differently. Stop asking, how long will it take? Start asking, how well will I use today? Stop saying, I'm busy. Start admitting, I've just been distracted. Because being busy is not the same as being intentional. And productivity is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. And what matters most? The time you will never get back. You don't need to work 18 hours a day to win. You need to own the hours you already have. Turn off the distractions. Silence the noise. Set your standard. Guard your time like a soldier guards a gate. Because your dream is under attack every minute you spend asleep to your own purpose. You are not here to exist. You are here to execute. You are not here to wait. You are here to wake up. To move with urgency, but not panic. To work with precision, not pressure. To live each hour with the full weight of its value and to spend it only on what is worthy. Because time is not cheap. It's not casual. It's not something you use up on the way to something else. It is the very substance of your legacy. And when your time is gone, when the clock hits zero, the only thing that will matter is what you did with it. Did you build something that outlives you? Did you love with presence? Did you learn with hunger? Did you grow even when it was hard? Did you fight for the best version of yourself? Or did you let it all slip through your fingers? One distracted minute at a time. Because there's no refund, no reset, no extra time added to the clock when you realize too late what it was really worth. So don't wait for a crisis to value your time. Don't wait for heartbreak or loss or regret. Make the decision now while you still have minutes left to shape. Because when you own your time, you own your life. When you respect your time, others will too. When you master your time, you begin to master yourself. And that is where greatness begins. Because when you begin to master yourself, you step into a rare kind of power. The kind that doesn't need applause, doesn't beg for opportunity, doesn't wait for the right moment. You become the moment. You create the opportunity. You set the standard. And it all starts with how you treat your time. Not as something to get through, but something to grow through. Not as something to kill, but something to cultivate. Because time is not your enemy. Waste is. Distraction is. Indecision is. Those are the thieves. They don't just steal hours, they steal potential. They rob you of presence, of passion, of progress. And if you let them, they will steal your entire life. But the one who masters time, that person becomes unstoppable. Because time mastery is self-mastery. And self-mastery is the root of every breakthrough you've ever dreamed of. Want to write the book? It's not about ideas, it's about carving the time. Want to change your health? It's not just about workouts, it's about when you prioritize them. Want to transform your income? It's not just hustle. It's how wisely you spend your focus. Everything you want lives in how you handle the hours. That's the equation. Not passion, not potential. Precision. Precision in how you plan. Precision in how you protect. Precision in how you pour yourself into each moment without letting time leak away in fragments. Because most people don't lose decades all at once. They lose 5 minutes at a time. Scroll here, procrastinate there, delay a little longer. Just one more video, just one more excuse. And then they wonder where the time went. But not you, not anymore. You're done with the casual countdown. You're done watching the clock run your life. From this moment forward, you run the clock. You become the kind of person who doesn't just show up, you maximize. You don't just fill time, you invest it. You don't just exist in time, you expand through it. Because once you realize how short this ride is, you stop trying to fill it with noise. You start focusing on the signal. You start building what matters, speaking what matters, doing what matters, and cutting everything else out. That's not harsh. That's freedom. Because saying no to what doesn't serve your future is how you say yes to what does. So you stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for choosing focus. You stop lowering your standard to accommodate those who don't value time because you know every second matters. Every second is either a seed or a scar. Every second is either building your vision or eroding it. Every second is either feeding your legacy or starving it. And legacies aren't written in years. They're built in moments. Moment by moment. Choice by choice. Hour by hour. That's where transformation lives. Not in some distant dream. Not in some grand event. But in how you manage this minute. Right now. While you still have it. While it's still yours. Because once it passes, it belongs to your past. And if you've been handing your future away one moment at a time, then now is the time to take it back. You don't need more time. You need more intention. You don't need to work harder. You need to waste less. Because when you start measuring your life in focused hours, you don't just become productive. You become powerful. And when you become powerful with your time, the world begins to respect your life. Because when the world sees someone who commands their time, it sees someone who commands their destiny. You walk different. You speak with clarity. You move with purpose. You radiate a sense of urgency that isn't frantic, it's focused. Not because you're rushing, but because you understand. You understand that your life is not a dress rehearsal. You understand that your mission is not guaranteed another day. You understand that the clock is not ticking for you, it's ticking on you. And you've decided you won't let another minute fall into the hands of the mediocre. You won't let another hour be stolen by your old habits. You won't give the rest of your life to the version of you that settles, stalls, or waits for the right mood. No, that version is done. That version had its chance. That version burned through too many mornings, too many opportunities, too much promise. You've buried that version now. And in its place stands someone new. Someone who doesn't spend time, they invest it. Someone who doesn't beg for time, they own it. Someone who doesn't fear the clock, they set it, run it, and win against it. You're not just living anymore. You're leading your life. Minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Because when time becomes sacred, everything changes. Your relationships deepen because you're present. Your work sharpens because you're focused. Your vision expands because you're disciplined. Your life elevates because you're intentional. And that's what this was always about. Not success, not money, not achievement, but alignment with your mission, with your future, with the version of you that lives fully instead of merely existing. That version, it's not a fantasy. It's already inside you, waiting, watching, pacing behind the walls you've built with distraction, doubt, delay. But now, those walls are coming down. Now, with every second you reclaim, you chip away at the old. You rise into the essential, into the eternal, into the extraordinary. And in the end, when it's all over, when the final second slips through your hands, you'll know something most never get to feel. You used your time. You honored your time. You lived your time, not in fear, not in waiting, but in fullness, because you remembered what they forgot. You understood what most ignore. You committed to what most abandon. Time is more valuable than money, and you chose to spend it on what matters most. So now, you don't need more time. You've already created more life. Everyone feels it at some point. That fire in the gut, that electric energy coursing through your veins. You watch a video, hear a speech, catch a glimpse of who you could become, and suddenly you feel unlimited. That's motivation. It's beautiful. It's real. It's necessary. But it doesn't last. Because the world doesn't run on fire, it runs on fuel. And that fuel is called discipline. Motivation is the spark that lights the match. But discipline is the hand that keeps the flame alive when the wind starts to howl. Motivation gets you to start the journey. Discipline ensures you finish it. Because let's be honest, every great idea begins with a high. The dream is exciting. The plan feels perfect. The energy is unstoppable for a while. Then life happens. The alarm clock rings earlier than you wanted. The workout feels heavier than expected. The work gets boring. The results don't come fast enough. And suddenly, that motivation, it's nowhere to be found. That's the test. Because greatness isn't found in the moment you start. It's forged in the moment you feel like quitting and keep going anyway. It's what you do after motivation leaves that decides everything. Most people live on emotional roller coasters. They start strong. They disappear when the mood fades. They rely on how they feel instead of remembering what they committed to. That's why they don't grow. But you're not most people. You don't want a life that rises and falls on emotion. You want something sustainable, something strong, something real. You want to grow. And growth requires consistency. Consistency requires discipline. Discipline is showing up when you're tired. It's working when no one is watching. It's saying no when distraction calls. It's sticking to the plan when comfort screams for your attention. Discipline is saying to your future self, I've got you. Even when your present self is exhausted, uninspired, and uncertain. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't reward starters. It rewards finishers. The world doesn't pay for ideas. It pays for execution. And execution lives in the hands of the disciplined. You don't rise by being motivated every day. You rise by mastering your habits, especially on the hard days. Because discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares whether or not you move. And when you move with discipline over and over, through resistance, through repetition, through rain and routine, that's when growth becomes inevitable. That's when your body starts to change. That's when your mindset sharpens. That's when your bank account grows. That's when your leadership is forged. That's when your destiny shifts. Not in a single moment of hype, but in 1,000 moments of choosing discipline over ease. Because you don't get what you wish for in life. You get what you're willing to work for consistently. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't brag. It doesn't need applause. It's not sexy, but it's undeniable. Because the results it creates, they're permanent. Discipline builds self-respect. It creates peace of mind. It unlocks levels most people will never reach, not because they're not capable, but because they weren't consistent enough. You want to know the difference between success and struggle? It's not motivation. It's how long you're willing to show up without applause. It's how long you're willing to do the right thing before the results catch up. That's the long game. That's the real game. That's where discipline dominates. And here's the secret most people miss. Discipline isn't punishment. It's freedom. It's the freedom to trust yourself, to know you'll follow through, to walk into any room and know that you don't need to talk because your habits already speak louder than your words ever could. Discipline makes you dangerous, not because you're loud, but because you're relentless. You become the kind of person who can't be thrown off track because you are the track. You built the path you're walking, and it wasn't built in hype. It was built in silence, in early mornings, in disciplined nights, in doing the work, even when the world was sleeping. That's where growth lives, not in the idea, but in the execution, not in the promise, but in the practice, not in the motivation, but in the mastery earned through daily discipline. So the next time you don't feel like it, the next time the fire dies down, the next time your mind says, skip it, rest, quit, you tell it this: motivation got me started, but discipline is what keeps me growing. And I'm not here to be excited. I'm here to be excellent. I'm not here for comfort. I'm here for character. I'm not here to chase hype. I'm here to become unstoppable. Because that's the shift, the internal switch that separates a lifetime of regret from a life of reward. The moment you stop asking, how can I stay motivated? And start asking, who do I need to become to stay consistent? The moment you stop seeking quick fixes and start embracing daily fundamentals. Because greatness doesn't arrive in a lightning strike, it accumulates like water over stone. And the tool that carves through resistance is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even passion. It's discipline. Discipline to do what needs to be done without drama. To rise without needing recognition. To keep your promise even when no one's watching. It's the builder of trust. The author of confidence. The source of real power. You don't need more hype. You need habits. You don't need more fire. You need a framework, because motivation can make you feel like a lion for a minute. But discipline makes you hunt like one every day. Not just when you're inspired, but when it's cold, when it's boring, when you're tired, when it's lonely, when it's hard, because that's when character is forged. That's when mastery is written. That's when real growth happens, not in your victories, but in your resistance to surrender. You want to change your body? Discipline. You want to change your finances? Discipline. You want to build a business? Discipline. You want to earn trust, respect, peace, and power? Discipline. Because the most powerful people in the world don't have more hours in the day. They just own more of their minutes. They don't waste time wondering what to do because they've already decided who they are. And who they are shows up regardless of emotion. That's the mark of a professional. That's the mark of someone who doesn't just work. They work with intention. They train. They track. They study. They execute. They grow. Not once a month. Not when it's trendy. But every single day. Even in silence. Even in setbacks. Even in suffering. Because they know the truth. Every time you skip the excuse. Every time you override the laziness. Every time you keep the promise to yourself. You are proving who you are. You are earning respect with every rep. And here's what makes discipline so unstoppable. It stacks. It compounds. It builds a mountain of momentum so massive that soon the cost of quitting becomes greater than the pain of continuing. You don't even entertain weakness anymore because your identity is now wired for strength. Your mind stops negotiating. Your feet keep moving. Your eyes stay locked on the path. Your habits hold the line. That's when you've crossed over. From relying on motivation to living in mastery. From chasing high energy to commanding high standards. From needing the world to push you to becoming the one who pulls others up. That's leadership. That's power. That's how you outlast, outperform, outdiscipline everyone around you. Not with shortcuts, but with standards. Standards that don't move with the wind. Standards that don't fall when things get heavy. Standards that become you. And when your standard is discipline, your growth is guaranteed because you no longer live from your feelings. You live from your foundations. And foundations don't break when the storm comes. They hold strong. So what do you build your life on? Excitement? That fades. Inspiration? That's temporary. Discipline? That's forever. Because forever isn't built in one decision. It's built in 1,000 quiet ones. The decision to wake up on time when no one would know if you didn't. The decision to train when your muscles ache and your mind begs you to stop. The decision to read, to write, to study when the world is screaming for your attention. The decision to stay true when the easier thing would be to quit. That's where growth hides. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't flash a sign. It waits silently behind the doors most people never open, because those doors are disguised as boredom. They're disguised as repetition. They're disguised as inconvenience. But behind them, strength, stability, success. Because the truth is this, the people you admire, the ones who've created impact, wealth, legacy, they weren't just driven. They were disciplined. Driven is loud. Discipline is consistent. Driven starts fast. Discipline finishes strong. Driven gets you through the first chapter. Discipline writes the last sentence. And the longer you live, the more you realize anyone can be driven for a moment. But few are disciplined for a lifetime. Because discipline costs you something. It costs you comfort. It costs you popularity. It costs you the cheap highs that come from cutting corners. But what you gain yourself. You gain a version of you that doesn't need a pep talk to perform. A version that doesn't depend on validation to feel valuable. A version that isn't swayed by failure or inflated by applause. A version that is rooted, real, relentless. You gain the life you were always meant to live, not because someone gave it to you, but because you built it. And you built it the hard way. Brick by brick. Step by step. Day by day. In the cold. In the quiet. In the absence of motivation. You built it with nothing but your word and the discipline to keep it. That's where pride comes from. Not from being perfect, but from knowing you showed up anyway. And that pride, that's peace. The peace that comes from becoming someone you don't have to explain. Because your habits, your presence, your work, they speak for you. So if you want to grow, not just start strong, but stay strong. Don't ask yourself what motivates you. Ask yourself what you've committed to. Ask yourself what you're willing to do when no one is watching. What you're willing to build in silence. What you're willing to do every single day without needing hype or recognition. Because that's who you really are. Not what you do once, but what you do repeatedly. And the life you end up with, it won't be the result of a single breakthrough. It'll be the compound effect of relentless discipline. So when your mind says, it's okay to skip today, you reply, no, this is who I am now. When your body says, let's take it easy, you respond, let's grow instead. When life says, you've done enough, you answer, I'm not done yet. Because motivation got you going. But discipline is what keeps you growing. And you're not here to just move. You're here to multiply. Not here to survive, but to scale. Not here to live on fire for a week, but to burn with purpose for a lifetime. And that kind of life, that kind of unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable growth, that's not given. It's earned through discipline every single day. Success is not something you chase like a wild animal. It is something you magnetize. It is not hunted, it is drawn to you, pulled into orbit by the gravity of who you are becoming, not by effort alone, but by alignment, by identity, by the invisible forces you sculpt within. You do not get rich by running harder. You get rich by thinking deeper. You do not gain influence by chasing followers. You gain it by becoming someone worth following. This world is not short on hustlers. It is short on caliber. And the greatest secret they never taught you in school, the truth they buried beneath a mountain of busy work and borrowed dreams, is that the most valuable project you will ever work on is you. Not your job, not your portfolio, not your image, you. Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. That is the rule. That is the law. That is the compass you've been waiting for. And if your life is filled with chaos, with drama, with limitation, it is not because life is cruel. It is because you have allowed the patterns that invite that chaos to remain unchallenged. If you want more, become more. Because success is not seduced by noise. It is attracted to depth. It is attracted to discipline, to clarity, to integrity. It flows toward vision, not desperation. It respects focus, not frenzy. It rewards those who build their foundation before flashing their face. The universe is not random. It is precise. It mirrors you. So stop asking, how can I make more money? And start asking, how can I become more valuable? Stop asking, how do I get noticed? And start asking, how can I become so excellent that I can't be ignored? Stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the kind of person who moves it. You want opportunity? Become prepared. You want love? Become whole. You want wealth? Become wise. You want impact? Become someone of substance. Because substance speaks louder than style. And the world has grown deaf to style without soul. The journey begins inside, and most people will never take it. Most people will spend their lives polishing the shell, decorating the surface, chasing the next thing, without realizing that the thing was never missing. They were. Their alignment, their values, their self-awareness, their standard. That is what determines what you attract. And when you raise that standard, not just in what you expect from the world, but in what you demand from yourself, everything changes. Because you start moving different, speaking different, choosing different. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining your hunger to people who've chosen comfort over calling. And you start building a life from principle, not pressure. That's when the world starts to shift. Not because it owes you, but because you've become someone who no longer waits to be owed. You've become the source, the spark, the architect of your atmosphere. Success is not out there. It is waiting inside you to be unlocked by identity. So who are you becoming? Not what are you doing, not what are you chasing, who are you becoming? That is the only question that matters. Because your outer world will never outgrow your inner world. No amount of hustle can overcome a weak self-image. No achievement will heal a fractured identity. No applause will ever fill the silence where purpose should be. So go there. Go into the silence. Go into the mirror. Not to admire it, to align. Not to correct the surface, but to confront the root. The root of your beliefs. The root of your patterns. The root of the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. Because that story is not innocent. It is building your life. Every belief is a brick. Every thought is a blueprint. Every habit is a vote for the future. You are either building a prisoner, a palace. So tear out the lies, rip out the weeds, rewire the code, because you were not born with limits. You were taught them. You inherited them from voices who settled, who shrank, who didn't know any better. But now you do. And once you know the truth, you owe it to yourself to live it. You owe it to the younger you who dreamed before they were doubted. You owe it to the future, you who's waiting for you to stop shrinking. You owe it to the world. Because a world full of people becoming their best selves is the most unstoppable force on earth. But it starts with one. You. Become someone worth attracting. Become someone who moves when it's hard, who shows up when it's thankless, who believes when it looks impossible, who builds, not because they have toe but because they can. That is the person success is drawn to. That is the energy that shifts rooms. That is the presence that makes possibility feel real. Not hype, not noise, alignment. Alignment with your truth, alignment with your values, alignment with your next level. Because success is not about luck. It is about alignment meeting preparation, wrapped in identity built through discipline. And discipline, let me tell you, it is not punishment, it is freedom. The world will lie to you and say discipline is restrictive, rigid, cold. But look closer. Discipline is devotion. Discipline is respect for your future self. Discipline is the bridge between the man who talks and the man who transforms, between the woman who dreams and the woman who delivers. Every act of discipline is an act of self-love. Every time you say no to distraction, you say yes to destiny. Every time you choose the grind over the excuse, you are casting a vote for the version of you that doesn't just get by, but gets beyond. Discipline is magnetic. It's not sexy. It's not viral, but it's unbeatable. Because when you can train your body to move before your mind has doubts, when you can commit without emotion, when you can show up regardless of how you feel, that's when the game changes. That's when the world starts to take you seriously. Because you're no longer signaling, I want it. You're signaling, I am it. And that energy, it attracts results. The disciplined person walks into the room and doesn't need to speak to lead. The aura says it all. The energy says, I've done the reps. I've walked through fire. I've mastered the boring days. I've held the line when others broke. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. And alignment cannot be faked. It's why some people with half your credentials rise twice as fast. They're aligned. They don't carry inner chaos into the world and expect peace back. They carry inner order, inner focus, inner fire, and the world rearranges itself around that fire. You must become the fire, not the flicker, not the matchstick, the fire. And fire doesn't beg to be seen. It burns. It transforms whatever it touches. And that is what you are meant to do. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to chase crumbs. You are here to become, to step into such power, such clarity, such embodied excellence, that success starts to orbit you like a planet locked into gravity. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become inevitable. And how do you become inevitable? Through identity reinforcement. It's not enough to know what you want. You have to see yourself as the person who already lives it. You have to wake up every day and act like it's already yours. Think like it's already here. Decide from the perspective of the person who's already become it. This is not delusion. It's alignment with potential. And potential is not realized through wishing. It's realized through wiring. So wire it. Wire it through repetition, through rituals, through a standard so high that mediocrity suffocates in your presence. Because when you live like that, people start to ask questions. They don't ask, what do you do? They ask, how do you move like that? How do you think like that? How did you build that? And the answer will never be a job title. It will never be a resume. It will never be some trick. The answer will always be, I worked on myself until I became someone success could no longer ignore. That's the real flex. Not what you bought, but what you broke through. Not who you impressed, but who you inspired. Not what you earned, but what you embodied. Because money fades, status fades, trends die, but who you are that echoes. And the greatest echo you can leave is not the memory of what you had. It's the model of who you were, the standard you set, the energy you brought, the legacy you left, not in assets, but in alignment. So stop asking when success will come. Start asking, who do I need to become for success to feel at home in my presence? Because when you become that person, success will not be able to stay away. Because once you become that person truly, fully, deeply, you won't even need to chase. You'll move and the world will move with you. You'll speak and doors will open. You'll breathe, and people will feel it. Not because you tried to impress, but because you aligned your entire being to something real. See, real power is quiet. It's not the loudest in the room. It's the most certain, not arrogant, anchored, not boastful, built, not frantic, focused. When you are that aligned, you don't get thrown off by storms. You welcome them. You don't fear resistance. You feed on it. Because you've trained your nervous system not just to survive pressure, but to command clarity inside it. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop proving. You start embodying. You stop running after things. You start attracting them effortlessly because you've done the one thing most people never do. You became ready. This is what it means to live at the edge of your potential. You become so complete, so directed, so locked in on truth that the world reorganizes itself around your presence. But this only happens when your internal standards are non-negotiable. Your mornings aren't random. Your habits aren't optional. Your words aren't careless. Your thoughts aren't unmanaged. Your relationships aren't passive. Your time isn't wasted. Because you know, every single thing you do is a reflection of who you are becoming. And who you're becoming is a force, not a follower, not a passenger, not a victim of the system, a system of your own, a principle-driven, purpose-bound, relentlessly focused architect of outcomes. You no longer wait for the world to offer you more. You offer yourself more and watch as the world starts to match it. Not out of favor, out of formula. The formula is simple, but it is not easy. You take full responsibility, not for the weather, not for the economy, not for what life throws at you, but for how you respond, for who you choose to become inside it. You don't control the waves. You master the sail. And the stronger you become, the more gracefully you navigate. Not because life stopped being chaotic, but because you stopped being reactive. You became sovereign. That's what this entire path is about. Sovereignty. Not control of others. Control of yourself. Because when you control your thoughts, your attention, your behavior, you become untouchable. They can strip the title. They can cut the income. They can doubt the dream. But they can't touch the core. They can't touch what you've built inside. And when your power comes from within, your success becomes inevitable because you've stopped borrowing strength from the world and you've started generating it from your identity. And that is when attraction happens. Not the law of attraction as fantasy. Not the vision board with no execution. But the real law that who you are creates resonance. And that resonance draws in the people, the places, the platforms, the opportunities that match your frequency. Because you're no longer asking life for permission. You are life. You are creation. You are the source. Not in arrogance, in awareness. And from that awareness, you act. You move different. You speak with purpose. You walk with presence. You choose with conviction. Because success is not a destination, it is a frequency. Tune yourself to it. Train your nervous system to hold it. Build your body to carry it. Sharpen your mind to defend it. Elevate your spirit to radiate it. Do that. And watch as everything you once chased begins to chase you. Because when success begins to chase you, it's not magics, it's mechanics. You have aligned your input to match the outcome. You've taken full ownership of the seed, the soil, the sun, the sweat, and now the harvest can't help but come. The world has to give way to the person who refuses to be moved off their path. It may take time. It may test your patience. It may delay until you question your worth. But the law remains. The person you become determines what you receive. And if you receive little, it's not a matter of worth. It's a matter of readiness. So get ready. Stop asking for the fruit. Strengthen your roots. Stop begging for results. Build your resilience. Stop pleading with the universe. Become someone who commands it through character. Because success isn't a jackpot. It's not a lottery ticket. It's not found, it's forged. It is the visible proof of invisible victories. It is the applause the world gives you after you've clapped for yourself in silence 1,000 times. So make your silence louder. Make your consistency your anthem. Make your private discipline your public destiny. Because the world doesn't just watch what you do, it feels what you are. And when you're grounded, clear, unshakable, people can't explain it, but they trust you. They follow you. They bet on you. Not because you promise, because you prove. Not once, not in flashes, but in the way you live. And living like this, it's not about being perfect. It's about being principled. It's about knowing what you stand for and standing there even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because hurt is part of the price. Growth has a tax. Evolution has a cost. And those who rise are not the ones who avoided it. They're the ones who paid in full. They didn't look for refunds. They didn't ask for discounts. They invested everything. Time, energy, ego, comfort, old identities. And in return, they got themselves. The true self, the powerful self, the unedited, unafraid, unstoppable self that no one could give them because it had to be earned. And when you earn that version of you, you no longer need to convince anyone of your value. Your being does the talking. Your presence walks in first. Your energy leaves the echo. This is the life you were meant to live. Not one of struggle and scattered ambition, but one of sovereignty, where you do not chase success. You call it. You don't beg for peace. You generate it. You don't wait for leadership. You embody it because you've done what few are willing to do. You became someone who can carry everything they once dreamed of without being crushed by it. That's real success. Not what you own, but what you own within. Not what you earn, but what you exude. Not the empire you build, but the emperor you become. So ask yourself today, not what am I doing, but who am I becoming? And answer that question not with words, but with action. Consistent, focused, uncompromising action. Because once the person you're becoming matches the life you're asking for, there's not a force on earth that can stop it from coming to you. Because once that alignment is real, once the inner frequency and the outer behavior are in perfect sync, you don't chase opportunity. You command attention, not with noise, with neutrality, not with flash, with foundation. That's when the world starts to listen to your silence more than others' screams. Because your walk speaks, your habits preach, your aura confirms what words cannot fake. You don't rise in the world by simply wanting to. You rise when your every action begins to agree with greatness. You rise when your thoughts no longer sabotage your movements, when your environment no longer outruns your decisions, when your past no longer dictates your capacity. You rise because your discipline became identity. And at that level, you attract things without lifting a finger because your energy did the lifting. You attract people who respect the process. You attract opportunities that match your vibration. You attract peace because there is no longer inner war. Most people don't fail because the world denied them. They fail because their inner world didn't match their outer desires. They wanted royalty but walked like peasants. They wanted influence but thought like victims. They wanted overflow but lived in lack. Not just in money, but in thought, in movement, in standards. But you've outgrown that. You're no longer okay with being the almost version of yourself. You're no longer addicted to applause that means nothing without alignment. You're no longer willing to sacrifice purpose for popularity or substance for speed, because you finally understand success doesn't come faster by running harder. It comes faster when you become clearer. Clarity creates velocity. Conviction sustains it. And consistency makes it inevitable. So what if it takes years? So what if no one claps? So what if you're misunderstood? You didn't start this journey for applause. You started it because you knew that inside you was something untouched by fear, unshaken by rejection, unwilling to stay small. That seed has always been there. But seeds don't bloom because they're seen. They bloom because they're watered. In darkness, in silence, under pressure. So water yourself with intention. Nourish yourself with discipline. Expose yourself to light not from the crowd, but from the truth. Because once that seed breaks through, once the person you've been sculpting in private shows up in public, no one will question how you got there. They'll feel it. They'll feel the weight of your growth. They'll feel the depth of your evolution. They'll feel the inevitability of your arrival. Not because you were lucky, because you became someone worthy of everything that's coming. Because worthiness isn't given, it's forged. It's not about what you were born into. It's about what you build from within. It's not the titles, not the applause, not the numbers, not the nods. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing I have done the work. And that kind of worthiness, it can't be stolen. It can't be faked. It doesn't rise and fall with the markets. It doesn't disappear when plans change. It doesn't collapse when you're doubted, because it's not tied to anything outside of you. It's rooted in character, in clarity, in the scars you earned and refused to hide. People will try to measure you by results, but results don't tell the full story. Your resilience does. Your consistency, your patience, your ability to stay the course when every part of your old self begged you to retreat. That's what defines you. That's what attracts real success. Because real success lasting, grounded, soul deep successes, no interest in temporary men and hollow women. It is drawn to those who've burned through ego, who've turned suffering into structure, who've mastered the art of being ready before they're seen. And readiness is rare. Most people wait for proof before they believe. But you believe first. You act first. You become first. Because you understand the universal law. Success is something you attract by the person you become. You don't just want to look successful. You want to live aligned. You want to walk clean. You want to sleep well. You want to wake up, look in the mirror, and respect the reflection. That is the true reward. That is what they can never take. So if you're tired, good. If you feel stretched, good. If you're standing in the in-between where the old you is dying and the new you is still forming, good. Because that's the place of power. That's the place of becoming. That's where success gets magnetized, not by chance, but by change. Not change in circumstances, change in character. And when that character is forged, when your identity has been rebuilt, brick by brick, moment by moment, habit by habit, you don't just attract success, you command reality. So command it with your walk, with your word, with your standard. Because the future doesn't belong to those who hope it, belongs to those who become. And the person who becomes, they can lose everything and still rise. They can fall 1,000 times and still lead because they are not built on luck. They are built on law. The law that says, I will always attract what I am aligned with. And the more powerful I become within, the more unstoppable my life becomes without.